You know, I'm starting to get the feeling that while it hasn't been the case literally every episode, Season 8 has really been starting to get a slog to get to, because I feel like that every episode I keep saying, maybe the next episode might be better than the last, and then I just get smacked in the face repeatedly for saying that. That's not to say that this next episode is, well, really, compared to the string of episodes that I've had to sit through, minus Heart's Warming Club, where literally episodes like Marks for Effort, A Matter of Principles, and the last episode I reviewed, Yakety Sax, it's like we hit the bottom of the barrel, so it's not like you can get any lower than that. But that does not mean that this episode is good by comparison. Alright, whatever. This is On the Road to Friendship. So, our episode begins with Starlight holding a magic show for Trixie, as she's in there as being Trixie's assistant, where the show actually going well, where, believe it or not, Twilight, Cadence, and Flurry Heart were there, and Trixie gets complimented by the Princess of Friendship.
That was an amazing show. Flurry Heart and I loved it.
What a miracle we have witnessed. The Princess of Friendship compliments the great and powerful Trixie. What a miracle we have witnessed here.
I'm so glad we decided to come. You two have a real chemistry. The terrifying trunk escape does require a great and powerful assistant. The way you two work together, it's like you've known each other as long as Twilight and I have. It was pretty fun. Of course it was. There's nothing better than a bond with another pony. You can share all kinds of things. Sunshine, sunshine, ladybug the wait.
I kind of like the look that Flurry Heart gives, like, what are they doing?
And do a little shake.
And then basically contrasts it with Starlight and Trixie looking at each other. Alright, so after the theme song, essentially, Trixie packs up her caravan while Starlight basically goes to be the guidance counselor. As Trixie is then approached by this pony from Saddle Arabia.
Usually ponies just call me Trixie, but Ms. Powerful has a nice ring.
From here to Saddle Arabia, I have seen nothing that compares with your wondrous show. Would you consider blessing my homeland with it?
I was just about to set out on shore, but Saddle Arabia is much farther than my usual route. And my caravan might not be suited for an extended tour.
Mine is new and quite spacious. If it would help persuade you, I would happily trade it for yours.
Trade it? Heavens, no! This is more than just some great and powerful wagon you see before you. It is shelter. It is transportation. It is my only friend on the long and lonely nights on the road.
Okay, well, first of all, Trixie, nice moonwalk there. But this honestly kind of leads to something that I really kind of wish the show kind of explores. I think we kind of know what this episode's kind of leading to, but this is the thing I want to know, is that we don't really dive deeper much into Trixie's caravan and why she's very hesitant to give it up. I mean, yeah, it's her property and she owns it, but we don't know the emotional weight behind it. Like, was it a gift from her dad when she got into magic? Like, was this the thing that she built from scratch? Like, we never really dive into detail as to why Trixie is so hesitant on wanting to give up the caravan. So even with the offering of the trade, Trixie then goes to Starlight to talk to her and ask her if she can come along with her to travel in Saddle Arabia.
The road is a lonely place, and this trip even more so. I was hoping I might convince my great and powerful assistant to come along.
So, with the fluttering eyes, Starlight basically agrees and brings along a couple of necessities to bring along with her, only to see that inside Trixie's caravan, there really isn't a whole lot of room to go through. Where basically they had to scrunch up a lot of things in order to fit everything inside, and really it's kind of difficult to move around.
Oh, am I kidding? My wagon is too small for us. I understand if you're having second thoughts. second thought, are you kidding? This wagon isn't small, it's cozy. And there's no such thing as too cozy. Well, all right then. I guess it's time to hit the road. Turn it off.
I guess we know where the smoke bombs are made from.
Maybe there is such a thing as too cozy.
Alright, so after the theme, we basically then get into our next song as, well, realizing that it's too cramped for them to sleep in. Starlight and Trixie then decide to travel on road, as unfortunately I have to mute for our next song of the season, which is We're Friendship Bound. And, believe it or not, this is probably the best song in the season that I've seen in a while. Like, I think for one thing what makes this song really stand out is that it's nice to see a duo performance of Starlight and Trixie, because I think as far as I'm concerned, we never really heard Trixie sing in the show in the 8 seasons that we've seen them. And on top of that, it's very catchy, it's very bouncy, and I think a lot of the atmosphere about the song and the way that it sounds, it reminds me a lot of Apples to the Core back in Season 4. So there's really a lot about this song that definitely makes it go through the travels. As we basically get to see Starlight and Trixie, despite some difficulties, they're basically excited just to be on the road together. And I think we know what this kind of leads to this moral, where basically, while it is nice to be traveling around with your friends, it does get kind of grating when you're traveling outside of the country. And believe me, it definitely will push your friendship to the test, because I have seen 34, and as at the time of this recording, and about starting 35 seasons of The Amazing Race, friends are definitely going to be pushing each other's buttons, especially when it's a race around the world for $1 million. So this episode basically falls in line of that, but it seems that so far Starlight and Trixie are doing very well, and like I said, the song is really so catchy that I wish that it was on iTunes, and I kind of wish I could play it, if not for the constant dealing with copyright. So basically after the song, we see Starlight and Trixie arrive at Saudi Arabia, and basically arrive at the Globe Festival, and I'm just now realizing that this was the same village that had that stupid, contrived, false accusing of Daring Do, all back in frickin' Daring Done. Oh dear Lord, this is gonna suck. Alright, so basically Trixie tries to rake out advice to Starlight, basically on saying that since they're basically out of the country, they have to be wise on their spendings, and Starlight ends up spending some of her bits, because now they're limited on funds.
Why don't we go there? Oh, no. I always buy my hay cakes here. So, we're just going to wait in line for hours, which is totally cool. Waiting in line bonding, right? After our falafel purchase, we weren't able to get everything on my list, but we are definitely set for breakfast. And I'm sure we'll find out that waiting in that super long line was worth it. A few hiccups always happen. Well,
yeah, and by few hiccups, it basically turns into a lot of hiccups, because apparently every single hotel in this frickin' village ends up getting sold out, and the super fan from earlier basically shows up again with his caravan. Yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention, during the song sequence, he also appears in front of them to offer him to trade his caravan for Trixie's. And now I'm basically kind of wondering, is this pony supposed to be like Bruce Willis in the movie North, where they're supposed to be their, like, guardian angel or something? So am I expecting him to basically show up in a rabbit costume next?
No doubt filled to the brim. Luckily, travelers such as ourselves have our caravans.
You said there'd be plenty of places to stay. Don't even worry about it, you said. You might have thought to make a reservation.
So, yeah, this then essentially leads to a problem that I think is basically the overall structure of the story. Now, unlike the past couple of episodes, I get what this episode's trying to teach, because believe me, I've been through this experience before. Basically, this episode demonstrates the stresses in traveling with your best friend, and that eventually it becomes very difficult when some minor inconveniences happen, but it depends on how well, ponies mend up to it. And we see that Starlight and Trixie basically are kind of at each other's odds, and I'm kind of wondering at this point if they're basically meant to be friends, since basically it's kind of like an on again, off again. As we see that the stress of the traveling starts to get to Starlight and Trixie, as they do try to make amends, and so they end up having to sleep in the caravan because really they don't have anywhere else to sleep. But it proves to be difficult, especially for Starlight, because she doesn't really have a lot of room to get to.
Something I can do to make things more comfortable for you? You could get rid of this junk. Yes. Well, before we throw away the magical items it's taken me years to collect, we could try switching topics.
So, if she's collecting them, does that mean these are more collector's items and this is not her profession?
Fine.
Okay, well that's a frightening image to start on. And we find out that Starlight's actually a pretty strong snorer.
Starlight! What? I'm sorry. Your snoring is a bit, loud? Yeah, I do that. I had my village convinced we were being attacked by bears every night.
Okay, I gotta admit, that was definitely a few funny things I liked about this episode.
But we probably need a better solution here.
So then, what is the solution? Basically, Trixie covers Starlight's mouth with a bandana, but then it's like the pot calling the kettle black, because then Trixie basically mumbles herself in her dreams that ends up keeping Starlight awake. Of course, this then starts to boil over, where basically Starlight and Trixie start to get on each other's nerves because of these things that basically annoy them, and probably from the lack of sleep.
Sleep? Well, sure did. Is that the last of the egg cakes? Oh, yeah. Sorry. It's fine. I don't suppose there's more juice. Yeah, I guess we'll have to resupply.
Are we tuning on some sort of lover's quarrel right now?
It's kind of what I'm wondering at this point, like if these two are really meant to be.
What a glorious morning!
Okay, is this dude like seriously stalking them? Because this is like the 4th time in this episode that they come across them. Like, is he supposed to be like some kind of used car salesman, or in this universe, a older caravan salesman? It's like, why can't he just leave them alone? Jesus.
I can't tell you how much I am looking forward to the first show of your tour.
Are you going to be following us for the whole time?
I agree, Starlight. That needs some type of explanation.
I do not know.
Okay, so basically to kind of save you some trouble, because, like I said, due to the amount of overwhelming bitterness and with the lack of sleep, Starlight and Trixie end up getting on each other's nerves, and the show basically ends up being a disaster.
Oh, no. It might make me thirsty, and we don't have anything to drink, so... The good news is, I'm so exhausted I could sleep through a stampede of wild boars, which you'll be delighted to know is only slightly louder than your snoring. Well, I'm looking forward to rehearsing the act with you all night. So diligent of you to go over it and over it in your sleep. Practice makes perfect. Not today, didn't? Well, I'm sorry you're so miserable. Really? Because if you wanted to make things more comfortable, you could always pare down a bit.
Well, you Fruit Loop dingus, I bet you didn't see this coming.
To anyone in the audience who didn't think that this was going to go. Now, here's the thing. I get what this episode's trying to do, is that basically this episode is trying to show the examples of what happens when you try traveling with your best friend, and that it's not going to be the easiest thing to do. And like I said, it's whether it's just regular circumstances of traveling outside the state, or traveling around the world to try to win $1 million, there's going to be a lot of stress along the way, and how friends kind of handle the situation. Where, regardless of the situation, I get what this episode's trying to teach, is that basically traveling with your friends is going to be difficult because there's going to be things about them that you learn on the trip that's either going to be a good thing or a bad thing, but if it's a friend that you really do care about, then you're willing to put up with it. But essentially this anger basically boils over to the point where Starlight basically decides to get the stalker, or Saddle Arabian horse, to sell Trixie's caravan, and we see that Trixie is naturally pissed.
What? I traded the old, worn-out wagon that was too small for us for this nice, new, spacious one that we can both enjoy. Who said you could do that? No, Pony, I just did it. Now we both have plenty of room, and you didn't even have to give anything away. Au contraire, I did give something away. I gave away my wagon and my best friend.
Now, here's the thing. With this emotional breakdown scene of Trixie, this is kind of what I was leaning to earlier. We don't really know the significance behind Trixie's caravan, and we don't know why it's so special to her. The episode never really gives us even a brief moment in this episode to explain why the caravan means much to her. We don't really get much detail onto why this caravan means much to her, but it's her property and we should feel bad for her. And on top of that, the bickering between her and Starlight is almost like, well, even if they're being brutally honest with each other now, it almost feels like I'm watching All Balled Up all over again, except Trixie's just not being Trixie.
Caravan with you. Fine. Good.
So Trixie basically does everything she can to find the stalker pony, who basically now officially has her caravan now.
Goodness! Oh, Miss Powerful. But where is your assistance? I had hoped providing you with a more comfortable means of conveyance would allow you to once more dazzle the crowds with mystifying feats of magic.
Well, why the hell did you even want her caravan in the first place? And if it's supposed to be more spacious, is there like an inbuilt set from what we saw all the way back at Ghostbusters? Like, how much do you know about Trixie? I don't think that having a caravan is more spacious is the problem here.
Normally, that sort of flattery would suffice. But today, we must discuss your dishonest and unfair procurement of my wagon.
I desired your wagon and provided one of equal or better value in return. It seems like a perfectly honest and fair trade to me.
Yeah, except for the fact that one other thing I forgot to mention, the trade that Starlight made with this guy happened off-screen. So we don't even know what kind of conditions that she had to agree to get the caravan, and you're one to talk, given the fact that you've practically been stalking them this entire episode.
Unfortunately, it is more nuanced than that.
Sure it is, but I am eager to set out, if you'll excuse me.
So because basically he's pretty much a jackass, decides not to listen to reason, Trixie literally decides to sit in front of the road, practically causing him not to go past, because it's likely he doesn't want to be considered to be a murderer on top of being a stalker, and basically decides to stand and wait for Trixie to move out of the way, but Trixie being Trixie is less inclined to do so.
I am willing to wait as long as you are.
We'll just see about that.
So and of course, as time passes by, Trixie's not getting up, and he's practically sipping the same tea for literally an entire day.
You know, even if I was willing to reverse the trade, you don't have my caravan to offer in return.
You have no reason to say you.
He literally has no right to say anything. So Starlight, meanwhile, Starlight with the actual caravan finds it difficult to find her way back, But she then comes across the two male ponies who also appeared in the song, which was something that I glanced over as well. But Starlight realizes that the two ponies during the song sequence were arguing, but they were able to find ways to basically make up with each other and basically get back on the road.
Really inspired us. We decided we need to head off on the road to friendship, too. It sure beats the road to delivery. Yeah, sometimes traveling together is hard. You reminded us you can also make it fun. Thanks, Dad!
And I think really that line kind of says a lot, because, like I said, if it's in the setting of The Amazing Race, where you're basically racing like 10, 11, and I heard this season 12 other teams for $1 million, it's a high-stress situation, and even if you're best friend, it'll definitely stress you out, because believe me, in the 34 seasons I have watched, I have seen teams that are considered to be best friends, but they let the stresses of traveling and the race get the better of them, where they start to fight and argue with each other. But then there are some teams that basically enjoy each other's company, have fun where they're going, and just basically just have a great time and having fun on the race. And 9 times out of 10, those teams are often the ones that either go very far in the season, or in some teams' cases, even go on to win. Now, obviously, it's a completely different scenario, but I really like how this episode basically presents the moral, where that's essentially the entire moral, where even if you get really stressed out when traveling with your best friend, if you're able to just have fun and enjoy each other's company, you're able to find the joys in travel. So Starlight ends up bringing the caravan back, as Trixie...
You care, wagon trader aware.
I'm afraid I'm still not interested, despite your assistant's convenient appearance.
You know what? I already played it once. I'm not going to say anything else beyond that. So basically, Trixie and Starlight basically come up with a fake, greeting, and this finally gets the stalker pony to give in and give Trixie's wagon back. And then we never see him again. Thank God.
Sorry your Saddle Arabian tour was ruined. Honestly, I don't think I could have stood one more second on the road. At a certain point, I didn't even like traveling with myself. It is a lot harder than I thought. Still, I'm glad we tried. Mostly so we know not to do it again. I think it's made our friendship greater and more powerful than ever.
That is definitely debatable, since there are some people in the fandom that are flip-flopping back and forth, wondering if you guys should even be considered friends.
You know, there's actually plenty of room in here for one pony nap. Is the show over?
Alright, so that was On the Road to Friendship. So, as a whole, what do I think of this episode? Basically, it's... That's literally to describe it. It's... Nah. I mean, it's not good. I'd say this episode's below average. Like I said, compared to the past three of this episode is definitely a godsend, but it's not good. This episode's held back by some problems with the fact that just seeing Starlight and Trixie bicker with each other, while being more honest, it felt like I was watching All Bottled Up all over again, which made me wonder if their friendship is really this toxic. But this episode is not as egregious, so there is some good there. And I really just didn't like the fact that the stalker pony, I know he has a name, but like the fact that he follows them for the entire episode, and the trade with the caravan situation, I think that part's more a missed potential, because as I said, we never really dive into detail as to why Trixie was not willing to give up her caravan. I would like to know the significance behind it, but the episode never really goes in depth as to why it's significant to Trixie. And really, just on top of that, there's really just kind of a lot of major things, and on top of that, we kind of know where this leads to, because it basically gets to the point where we do see the stress and build up with each other. Now, like I said, unlike Yakety Sax, I definitely can completely understand what this episode is trying to go for. I really do. Like I said, it tries to demonstrate the stress and travel of what it's like to traveling with your best friend. And believe me, I have been in that situation before, so I definitely know what that's like. I really just think that with just the amount of just knowing where this episode is going to lead, seeing Starlight and Trixie fight yet again, almost like they're a married couple, and basically that stalker pony that basically almost reminds me of Bruce Willis in the Elijah Woods movie North, where basically he's almost like where basically he just wants to say, oh, your princess is in another castle, where you just want to smack the guy in the face. Now, I do think that this is a better moral that's better taught than, say, the past couple of episodes that I've seen. But I just think that really just once actually getting to the traveling and just hearing the bickering and skipping over a lot of it, it's really just kind of an annoying trend to get through, and it's just an annoying cliche. And like I said, I do get that's the point of the episode, but if I have to skip over a lot of the stupid stuff, then that's not really the mark of a good episode. Now, like I said, compared to the likes of, say, Yakety Sax, A Matter of Principles, and especially Marks for Efforts, where those episodes I felt like I hit the bottom of the barrel, this one is about below average at best. So as a whole, I'd probably say On the Road to Friendship is about a C- at best. It's not god-awful by any means. It's not utter trash and garbage, and it's not to the point where it's bad. Like, it's below average at best, but there's just a lot of things about this episode that's holding it back. That makes me want to know more about this episode, and that this could have been a go episode, but there's just been a lot of annoying things about it that just really hold it back. So yeah, as a whole, On the Road to Friendship, I think is about a C- for me. Alright. I really cannot believe that we only have about basically 5 episodes in the 2-part finale yet. And I'm now starting to see where Season 8, I'm not even going to say anything else, because it really feels like that the second half of Season 8, other than Heart's Warming Club, it feels like I'm basically going through war, and I'm barely making it out alive. Oh my god. Alright, so what's the next episode? The Washouts. I'll see you guys next time.